I think it's going to be a great team. I think you have people that have experience. We've seen that this has been a one-sided sham from moment number one. So I guess a lot of it depends on what happens from this point on, right? I would like to personally hear from everyone. I'd like to hear from Hunter Biden. I'd like to hear from Joe Biden, because frankly, these are the reasons we're even having this conversation right now.
Would you rather see the Senate, file a motion to dismiss right away, which is what Lindsey Graham came on this program and said he's going to do a couple of weeks ago, or do you want to hear from these people?
If we're hearing from all of those witnesses, then I want to sort of hear it, because I realize, again, having watched this thing transpire over the last few years and the nonsense perpetuate itself, I definitely want to hear from the other side. If the Republicans, and some of them, the let's call it weaker Republicans, I sort of like the Rand Paul model, make them vote on it. If some of those guys don't want to hear from the witnesses that we'd want to hear from, but we'll hear from the others, I want to know about it, because they don't deserve to be in office. So it really depends. We have to play the game the way the Democrats have played the game. We have to play hard, but fair. Hearing from everyone is totally fair. That's not what we've seen so far while the Democrats have controlled the process. It has not been fair in any way, shape, or form.
We should have expected that Nancy Pelosi wanted the president out just from the State of the Union last year.
Of course. This has been their
impeachment
started November 9th, 2016. Okay, that's what it's been going on. The Washington Post wrote the case for impeachment 20 minutes after the inauguration. Okay, this has been an ongoing saga forever. The other thing I think Nancy's trying to do with the delay is prevent other people like Bernie from actually being on the campaign trail. Okay, another way
to try to guarantee colluding against.
By the way, I love
Sanders.
that they collude against themselves in this way, because the last time they colluded to rig the Democrat primary, it worked out perfectly for us because we got Hillary, and that was a godsend.
Well, it is pretty unbelievable. You mentioned Hunter Biden. When your father became president, you and your brother Eric, running the Trump organization, you stopped doing international deals.
We said we would not do any new international deals going forward. And that's, hey, a big part of why I'm so involved in politics right now is because that's what I did. I did our international deals. Unlike Hunter Biden, we were actually international business people before Daddy got into politics. Okay, Hunter Biden magically becomes an international business the second his father's pulling the purse strings. Okay, that's the difference.
Well,
now, people don't talk about that. They don't want to talk about that.
Fund from China. He took that trip on.
Imagine Donald Trump Jr. took $1.50 from China after traveling on Air Force One with his dad to go do that. Imagine I took $1.50.
Yeah.
It would be outrage.
And then he was making, what, $50,000 or $60,000 a month from
$83,000 a month from Burisma. More from Ukraine.
Let me ask you about this Lev Parnas news. Obviously, this is a guy who's indicted. He's also releasing a trove of documents through the House Intel Committee. Your name comes up in one of these text messages exchanged between Parnas and a GOP fundraiser. How well do you know Parnas? There are pictures of obviously Lev Parnas with the president.
Met him at some fundraising events. He was a donor to a super PAC, shows up at some of these things like anything else. Like, honestly, it was funny. I didn't even realize he was Ukrainian. I thought he was Israeli. The reality is you don't know him that well, but that's the problem with how this world works, right? You take a couple pictures with something. If someone's a donor, they get in line. They sit at a dinner with 50 people, and that's how it works. The media then takes it. Oh, they're buddies. I guarantee you my father couldn't pick this guy out of a lineup. That doesn't mean he hasn't taken pictures with him.
Right.
But when you do the average click line of my father, and it's 200 people in an evening, and you do that a couple times a week, this is how the game works. But again, the media pretends that they don't know that that's how the game works.
I was reading a couple of posts and tweets of yours, and you accuse Yovanovitch of monitoring you. Tell me what happened.
I saw the reports that they were assigned people in the Ukrainian embassy, apparently, to monitor myself, other conservative figures, Sean Hannity, Dan Bongino, numerous others. So, of course, now she's accusing people of doing the same to her, because that's what happens. When they do it, it's sort of, what the old liberal, the Democrat politics, accuse them of doing all the things that you're doing. So a year later, they come back to try to accuse us of it.
Well, throughout 2016 and 2017, we saw this hysteria in terms of collusion, and yet they just continue to look for more things to try to attack your father.
They'll double down. Again, any opportunity to hurt Trump. And that's the reality. I've said it over and over. I mean, the Democrats and the media hate Trump much more than they love America, because you can't dispute the numbers. You can't dispute all-time low unemployment for every group in this country, every demographic. You can't.
Well, we're at a 50-year low in unemployment, and we got a consumer that's obviously the sentiment and spending is very strong. Economic growth has moved. You're
Correct.
talking about close to 3% expectations in 2020.
But it's not by magic. It's because he's implemented policies that have allowed the markets to work, that have allowed small business to thrive, that have allowed people to actually invest in themselves. And that's lifted everyone. That affects a lot of people.
You make a good point, because it looks like income inequality is narrowing. When you look at the bottom earners, their wages have gone up 4.5%.
Correct. And I mean, isn't that the statistic that we want? Isn't that the way we want to lift? That rising tide that lifts all ships, like, that's what we want to do. And that's what he said he was going to do. And he's done it. So
let's go to 2020 and the election. Who do you think is going to be the nominee?
I think you could see the media has got it in for, to sort of doing the full press to make sure that Biden is the guy, which is great in a way, because, I mean, I'd sort of like to see Trump go one-on-one with Biden. When I see Joe Biden talking to a group of 20 people with a teleprompter because they're afraid of what he may say otherwise, that tells me all I need to know. And in a large and stacked Democrat field, I think it's fine. You can probably hide some of that. Get him on the trail for 5-6 months, one-on-one with Donald Trump. It's going to be awesome.
What about the Bloomberg factor?
Honestly, he's going to spend money one way or the other. I mean, he doesn't have the personality for this. He doesn't, he can't relate to people. He probably inherently dislikes people. So he just doesn't have the retail side of it, which is a big part of it. He doesn't have a stage presence. He doesn't have that personality. So he'll spend a lot of money, but what's he going to spend it against?
Well, he also gave the Democrats a $100 million plus at the end of the year last year, and in fact, that was effective.
I think it was for the House. I don't think it helps him because he doesn't have what it takes to be a politician.
Let me ask you about the president and how he's doing here in the face of all of these attacks and getting ready for impeachment.
Listen, honestly, he's doing fine. You can see that through his actions. He's used to taking these punches. He's used to getting hit. And guess what? He's just going to keep working. He's actually more of a game time player than anything. So when the pressure's on, he gets things done. And what you're seeing is unprecedented success.
Don, it's great to have you on the show.
Great to be back.
Thank you so much.